Today, my guest is the digital chef himself, Patrick4D, better known as Patrick4D, a professional 3D artist specializing in commercial CG and food visualization. Patrick creates high-end food visuals and product animations, and is known for his clean style and practical approach to 3D. In this conversation, we talk about his journey into the industry, working with food in CG, creative process, career growth, and advice for artists who want to break into professional commercial work. This is my conversation with Patrick.
Let him cook now! Let him cook! I said let him cook!
Patrick, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I'm really happy to have you here. Hopefully, this conversation will be useful to people watching it and we will have fun. So, first of all, could you please tell us a bit about yourself and your journey into the industry up to today?
Yeah, of course. So I go by Patrick4D on social media, and the journey really began when I was a film student at SCAD Atlanta. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia, here in the US. And I thought my whole life I was going to be like a director of photography or a director. And I was working on film shoots when I was like anywhere from 16 years old to like 25 maybe, or 23 maybe. So around 2016 is when I was like midway through film school, but the editing bays, the workstations we were working on there, had access to this program called Cinema4D. And I remember seeing some stuff online about 3D, but I just never had the access to it. And at the time, these were like really expensive programs. And so I was like, I'm probably not going to buy this on my own. So let me see if I like this stuff and let me try to learn some stuff from YouTube while I'm not doing film work. And so I used that time I had to learn. And the first day I opened Cinema4D, I started the Instagram account, Patrick4D. And so I was doing I didn't know how to make anything besides just like blobs. So like every other artist, they start off doing abstract work. But I realized really quickly, because I had film knowledge and because I was used to moving lights and cameras around in real life, I'm like, oh, well, it would make sense to put the light here, camera here. So I could make these things look pretty photorealistic right off the bat, even if I didn't know how to texture or model or anything like that, which is why, this is 2016, before COVID, before everyone became like an influencer and a social media person. So I think at the time it was much easier for people to be like, whoa, what is this? And so I got traction that way. So I went from a bunch of different series. I started with abstract, then it was like environments. Had a lot of inspiration from people like Beeple and Hoodass and people like that. And then graduated those niches, kept doing different things. I was like, okay, I did some environments. What happens if I go towards product type rendering? So I started making actual products. And mind you, I was just like using booleans and meshing shapes together using like the volume builder and mesher in Cinema. So under the hood, these things looked horrible. These were not good looking things, but from what people and like some beginning clients used to see, they're like, oh, it looks great to us. So that was good enough for me. And then then I started getting into character work when I thought I had done a lot of that work. And the characters, I always loved like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. So I had this really crazy series where I was making really disgusting characters. But until that point, I'd only been using booleans and merging shapes together. So I'm like, if I'm going to make characters, I have to learn ZBrush. I have to learn how to actually sculpt things, which got me into topology a little bit more and worrying about the mesh count and stuff like that. So every series I was doing, I just learned a little bit more of different softwares. And then after characters, I did character foods. What if I made like the Homer Simpson donut or purple flurp from what do you call it, Jimmy Neutron, or foods that you could see in SpongeBob, just something that you used to see in a cartoon that you're like, I wonder what that tastes like. I wonder what that would look like. And when I realized I could make these foods come to life and look pretty tasty and edible, I was like, why don't I just try making real foods? I don't see a lot of people doing that. And somehow at the time, there wasn't really a person that I saw that was known for just doing food. Like maybe they had tried it every once in a while. And agencies have done projects like that before, but there was no one person that was like, oh, this is the food guy. And so I just like went from this small series to this is like my main thing. And now it's been years and I've been doing a lot of client work doing this and just that's just become my name, digital chef, this, that.
Mhm.
And it's brought about a lot of cool networking opportunities, presenting on behalf of Maxon and Zbrush a lot, meeting cool artists, and also working with a bunch of awesome clients of foods I eat every day. So it's been fun.
I like to say that all roads lead to CG because I have lots of friends that used to be like police officers, actors. I've been an accountant for many years. Now we're all 3D artists. So it's interesting what originally inspired you to transition from photography or cinematography to 3D art.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It was really just I think being in film school and already liking the visual side of things. Like you say accountant, I could never be. I'm so bad with numbers and math and all this stuff. I think because film was such a physically demanding thing. Like I'm always carrying heavy equipment, always, carrying cameras around, unscrewing the lens, making sure the memory card's charged. What gravitated me towards 3D was the fact that I could make these things that otherwise would take me so long to set up and so many people and so much more liability that I could just make here. I was like, oh, I'll just set up a camera here, put this flag here, do all this stuff. And it was so much easier to make things. And I was like, coming from a world where I had to rely on so many people and be at the mercy of different like musicians and artists, showing up late on set, having to deal with all the headaches. I could actually be the star of the show in this realm of my life.
In one of your interviews, you mentioned Christina Maloney, please correct me if I'm wrong, a motion media professor from SCAD, and you mentioned that she became one of the main reasons you were able to study Cinema 4D, and without her, you wouldn't have chosen this direction. Could you please tell us more about this story?
Yeah, that's you did your research, man. Yeah, Christina Maloney, she was and still is, I think, a motion graphics professor at SCAD, where I went to school. Mind you, I never took a class in 3D at my college. It was really just going for film, but they had a motion media club called what is it? What was it? Motion? Is it MOM or something like that? I think it was. Yeah, they have a 3D club that meets. I don't know how often, but I used to do it because that was my only way of getting into the 3D scene at SCAD because I wasn't taking any 3D classes. And so I met her, and she was gracious enough to let me have a student license because she saw I was so into this. And that's when it really took from, oh, I can only work on this stuff at school to I can work from home on my equipment. That's when I really started putting in the hours after school and when I was home. So I think that she played a huge role in getting me exposed to 3D and giving me like a year because I think they renewed every year. So giving me whole years of access to these programs. And by the time I graduated, I was like, yo, I'm down to buy this stuff. Like I'll actually like pay for the license because I'm getting projects now. I don't want this stuff to start breaking. I don't want to have to start cracking these softwares. So yeah, mad props to her.
It's so called the butterfly effect. Like one small decision changes everything. And
100%.
you've worked in abstract styles and on projects for brands like Adidas, Crocs, Microsoft, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yeah.
how is working on food different from everything you've done before? What makes food unique?
I think what makes food unique is Yeah, I think with the specifically the clients you just mentioned, those kind of projects were more of the two for one. Like I would make their product in 3D, but then also kind of merge them into my style and have it be some sort of a social media push. So with those, I have a lot more creative freedom. They were like, here, take our product and make it yours. Like, do your thing. We don't want to have too much creative control. We want you to do your thing that's already working on social media and then post about it. Versus the food brands, a lot of these times, because I'm making the renders for packaging, they're much more strict on what the food looks like. It has to look exactly like it would on like a food production shoot. And it's less of like, oh, collab with Patrick4D and more of like, hey, we just want this product to look right on our packaging. So it's much more of like a I'm working for a client with the food brands than it is like social media. Sometimes I do like collabs for social media with the food brands and they'll send a bunch of food my way, but most of the time they just want it looking right for the packaging.
Your main tools are Cinema 4D, ZBrush, and Octane. Octane is a render stuff, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah, so
familiar.
I start every project in ZBrush. That's where I pretty much make everything. I'll sculpt everything, make the mesh, export the FBX into Cinema 4D, and then I probably would have used Redshift if Redshift Maxon owned Redshift by the time I started, but because I was so fluent in Octane, which is an unbiased render engine, as a plugin of Cinema 4D, I just use Octane. Plus, the guys at Otoy are really nice. I've met with them before, and so I just have a good relationship with Octane as a company. Um, Same with Maxon, but yeah. So it's ZBrush, Cinema 4D, and then Octane.
I wanted to ask you specifically about ZBrush as a 3D artist. I know like it's not a simple tool to master. How did you master it? It's like through tutorials or self-study, experimentation.
Yeah, most of it was, I think, on a technical level, I was looking up very specific techniques in ZBrush. So I never took like a master class. I think for me, that would have overwhelmed me. People learn differently, but for me, it was like if I'm gonna make this specific object, along the way, I'm gonna need to know a few different techniques. So I would try to look up those techniques as I got to them instead of watching like all the basics of ZBrush. Because I mean, people say just like you said, like people think that I'm like this master of ZBrush, but I tell people all the time, I really only know like probably 10 to 15% of ZBrush. Like it's not like I'm using every single thing. I only learn what I need to learn, like the 10, 15%, and then go very deep into that 10, 15%. So the stuff I do know and the menus that I am looking at a lot, I know like the back of my hand, but it's not like I could look up every menu and tell you what every single thing does because it's just irrelevant, you know?
And do you use the latest version of ZBrush?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
2026.1.1 apparently.
Here's one more thing. As a 3D artist, also, I wanted to talk to you about references. I'll tell you how I imagine it. Imagine you want to make a chocolate bar, let's say. You buy it, you break it apart to study how it looks inside, and how deep does your reference process go? Do you do it like this?
Honestly, 95% of the time, I look up like one Google image. Like it's not even that crazy. Like I'm literally just on Google. I don't look up like 50 million angles of the thing. For client work, it's a little bit different because they send me the actual product. So I have it. I can just like take a bunch of chips and put it right here and look at them. But most of the time, it doesn't really take me too long. I just look at a few Google images or images that they provide me. Sometimes clients will send like really high resolution images, and then sometimes they'll send me the actual product. So it just varies between stuff. But no, I'm typically not like I don't require like breaking up the stuff. Like as long as I have a couple photos, like I can pretty much, you know, do with what I need. Plus, I think it goes to show that a lot of the clients want my creative input as well. Like even if there's a little bit, I think people want when they go for CG, they want like a perfect version of their foods. Um, and I think the perfect middle ground, because if you're shooting foods on like a backdrop, like an actual photo shoot, you're trying to make the image look perfect. You're taking away the little imperfections. So in a way, they're trying to already get that perfect look. And then you add a little bit of imperfections to make it not look just totally fake. But a lot of times, I mean, look at candy companies. Like on the packaging. Most of them just look like cartoons. So clearly, some brands want more of a stylized, like fun look. And yeah, I think it just depends on the client.
Yeah, and also it requires a lot of visual experience, right? Because there are not many people that could just take a look at one photo and create the product. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think you get really well versed after a while of like, especially when I'm starting a project. I know that if I'm going to make, like, I have this funny thing in my head that I work out where if I'm going to texture something like cheese, I have this one caramel texture that I start with, and cheese and caramel don't really, they're not the same at all, but under the hood, they have kind of a similar starting point for me. And so I'll just like drag the caramel on the cheese and then just finesse it a little bit, change the scattering, the absorption, and the roughness a little bit. And obviously the transmission color. So um, yeah, even though like I think I just have such a weird way of knowing, okay, this would be this texture, this would be this starting point. And at this point, I have so many like presets saved. I have like cake, chocolate, ice cream, cheese, breads, all this stuff saved. So I don't really start from scratch anymore, texture wise. I start from scratch all the time in ZBrush, but not from the texture.
And why did you choose food as your main focus instead of something like electronics or fashion?
I think, well, I think I did try a lot of other things before food. I think once I got to food, I realized not only was I really fast and good at making things look tasty, but there weren't other people doing it at the time, at least at this level and speed. And I had like this setup already by that time. I had like the camera set up at the wall. I had this side angle camera right here. And
Oh,
so
that's
like I have
amazing.
like all these different angles that allow me to show myself creating foods. And so I was like, might as well just go with what I'm good at and that I don't see a lot of other people doing. Because I think a lot of people, I used to think too that being a generalist was the best because you could fit into any mold and you could get hired for the most projects. But you realize that you're also in a much bigger bucket of people.
It's
When
true.
everyone's a generalist, it's going to be hard to think of, oh, this one person, get this one person to be a generalist versus, oh, if you need this food product made, who does food? You're going to think of like maybe, you know, three guys, like if that. So I think I've been much better at being known as like the digital chef. And once I realized I had like a name for this, you can't go back.
I completely agree with you about the bucket. Yeah, that's exactly what is happening now in the industry. Yeah, that's amazing. And there are so many types of food. And how do you decide what you'll work on a given day? Like you just wake up and like it's cookie time, or how it looks like.
Yeah, I think we have a joke in my Discord about this. Like even when I'm doing like the ZBrush live streams, I have no idea what I'm making until I actually log on and start streaming, and I'm like, all right, what are we making? And I think that one, I do it because I genuinely don't know what I want to make every day, and two, it shows people that you don't have to like pre-prep. Like in ZBrush, you can get good enough to the point where it doesn't matter if you're caught off guard or if you didn't expect to make this or that. Like everything can be made super easily if you know how to use the program. So I'm at this point, I think I'm fluent enough that I can take this food, whatever, really any food, um, and just kind of whip it up on the fly. And it just shows that you can make it. I think it's good to show that process. Even if I'm struggling in the moment, it shows people, oh, how do you overcome this? How do you get past this point that seems hard to model or sculpt?
Is there any cuisine or a specific dish that was especially interesting or challenging for you to recreate in 3D?
One that always sticks out to me for some reason, and I don't even know if it was the most challenging, but I remember it is an eggs Benedict breakfast platter. It was just like the combination of like really smooth egg on top of like this like really rough toast, and then like the egg was like ripped slightly and the yolk was like oozing out. So it was like a really intricate thing to have to make. Um, I wonder if I still have that. I bet I can pull it up at some point. But it was just like a perfect mix of like all these crunchy textures, but then like the really oozy and then the really smooth egg. I guess that one
Yeah.
stands out to me as like a fun one that I made that was somewhat challenging.
Your niche is quite specialized, I would say narrow maybe. Like, is there real demand for artists in this area? Like, can you actually make a living from food visualization, or and do you think the market is ready for more artists like you?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen success for sure. I can speak for myself, and I think I will say a lot of that is due to the fact that I had some social media growth. If I had no eyes looking at my work and I was just like, I'm only doing food, it would be a little bit limiting. So I guess to add to my previous point about being a generalist, I think a generalist is something you need to be at the beginning until you find your niche and until people know you as that thing. So I would say you can find a lot of work doing it, but I would say just be cautious. If you're going to close yourself into that box, making sure you have enough eyes on your work and obviously you're good enough at doing that stuff before totally committing to that niche and or any niche for that matter.
If someone decides to do the thing you do, what would be like the main advice? What should be he prepared for?
I would say the main advice is that's a good question for food stuff. Um, I guess be ready to get to a level of detail that's a little bit stricter than the average. Like if you're making toys or if you're making very stylized cartoony stuff, like uh, get your film and lighting knowledge up. I think the knowledge of lighting and stage setting is really important in the food stuff because you can be the best sculptor in the world, but if you can't like render it out and it looks pretty and good to eat, it makes no difference. So I think just making sure, I think with the food, unlike if you're like 3D printing stuff, like there you only have to worry about the model looking fantastic. With food, it needs to be the model, lighting, texture. Everything has to be on point. Otherwise, one wrong thing will make things look unedible.
It all comes to basics, right? Because I'm talking to 3D artists, different kinds of artists, and the main advice they would give, study basics. Whatever you
Yeah.
do, study basics. So the same rule works for your niche as well. What are the most common mistakes you see beginners make when they follow a similar path? I'm not sure if there are a lot of people doing the same thing, but maybe you've seen them.
I think maybe between one or two things. One, posting a lot of work before you've really gotten good at something, because I think people forget like your social media is also your portfolio these days. It used to be you had just like a highlight reel and you'd send it, or you had like a pitch deck or something like that. But at least for me, all I've really had to rely on is like my website and social media, or at least my social media to drive people to my website. And so, if I kept a bunch of work that, wasn't up to par, I'm probably not going to get the gigs that I want. So making sure you're good enough until you start posting. Luckily for me, my terrible renders were before I even got to the food world. So they're still probably up there. They're just not like the food renders. So by the time I was doing food, I kind of had a grasp of lighting and texture, even if I was beginning on food. And then the second one is, oh, I had it. What was it? Oh yeah, I guess in like for ZBrush stuff, like people, and this isn't just food, but really anything you're making in ZBrush, like people will start adding the smallest of details before they got their big forms right. So making sure you have like your big forms correct, and you're in like a low poly form before you start adding crazy amounts of detail. Um, because I'll see that all the time. I'll see just like these really wonky looking shapes, but people will be working on like the tiny details, and I'm sure you've seen that too.
Yeah.
So it's just like making sure you're focusing on the right things, but it can be hard before you know kind of what you're doing to like train your eye to be comfortable with that stuff.
Yeah, and again, basics, right? Study
Yeah.
basics.
Also, I
If
think I found the ZBrush thing. I found the render. Let me see if I can go to my tablet. You see this?
yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah, this just and this was something I made a long time ago too. So it wasn't even like recent, but you can see it has like the egg ooze coming out, and you got like this really intricate looking like soft egg with the egg yolk, and then you got like the. So I always come
Yeah,
back to
that's
this
cool.
one as like a fun one. That came out pretty fun,
All right, yeah,
um, and I was pretty happy with it. But it was pretty challenging at the time.
yeah. Do you have a render, like the final render?
Yeah, it's actually right here. Yeah, I believe I
Wow,
had. So you got this one.
looks amazing.
Appreciate it.
Wow, that's so
Just a bunch
cool.
of that stuff running out. And even this one was like a long time ago at this point, but I remember at the time I was pretty happy with the egg yolk
Yeah, yeah, that's
kind of
amazing.
oozing out.
It's interesting. How do you personally balance artistic expression with commercial client expectations. I'm sure like you have a technical assignment for a client, but from the other side, you see that if we change it a little bit, it's going to be better. Like, do
Mhm.
you negotiate it or you do as it is given?
I think a lot of times it depends on whether I'm working direct to the client or if I am working under an agency. It's 50-50. Sometimes I'm working with the client, and in those cases I kind of express myself a little bit more. But when there's an agency and there's like a creative director, they kind of know exactly what they want. So I don't do as much with that because it has to go through so many lines of people. It goes to the agency, then it goes to the actual client, and sometimes it goes to the agency, then another agency that goes to the client. So I
Mm.
definitely don't want to add too many cogs to the wheel with that. But if I'm working direct to the client, sometimes I'll be like, I think you might like this if it's a little bit like this.
What's the client's reaction most of the time? They're like, okay.
Yeah, most of the time, if it's something that I'm willing to bring up and be like, hey, I think you should look at this. This looks better. Yeah, usually they at least want to hear it out, or maybe they're like, yeah, we would, but we actually need to show this angle because it fits on the box better this way.
Here's an interesting topic. Let's talk about AI. It's a
Mm,
very interesting topic, and I had another podcast with an artist specializing on AI. Like she creates props using AI, and actually it looks not bad. And there was a holy war in a comment section because there are people that for and against AI. So,
mhm.
what do you think about AI, and do you see it as a threat to your field?
I definitely think it's gonna change the industry a lot. Like everyone's gonna start. I think it's gonna shift the bag. So I think people that are very talented and have a good eye for things will find a way. I think it's gonna really suck for people who are relying on the clients paying like $100 or $500 who are trying to find like pinch pennies because they're just gonna be like, oh, why don't I just like generate this stuff with my product? It's gonna be fine. I don't need like the finest details being paid attention to. So it just depends who you are in the field. I can say for my project, we're still relying on very minute details that require either project scene files or heavy iterations. Like I can't see some of the clients I'm working for being cool just prompting stuff. Of course, it's always getting better, so who knows? But I mean I've been using it not for like my client work or anything creative like that, but more so for like ideas and like um you know different ways of thinking about certain things or like, ooh, how do I approach this in a client setting. So I've used it for very like as if I was talking to a person, not like generate me this stuff. I guess the closest thing I've used it for client wise is getting help with like compositions before I actually put stuff together. Because I could waste a bunch of time just like, oh, what if I put this here, this here, this here? Or I could just say generically, give me a few different generations of or generative renders or whatever you call it of composition ideas. And then I'm like, okay, I actually kind of like this one more. Then I'll do the work, the heavy lifting in 3D.
Yeah, I do agree. So it cannot replace us for now. And that's interesting because I'm still doing traditional art. I'm a part
Mhm.
of one gallery, international gallery, and I used to sell pictures. Now I don't for certain reasons, but I had a conversation with their manager, and I asked them about the demand for like pictures like this that are made by human oil paintings, and she told me that it was like a huge surge, you know, because people really want to things made by people because of AI. Like so, the demand is growing for things made by human. Yeah, what do you
I agree
think?
with you.
Agree?
I agree 100%. I mean, it's hard to compete with someone. I feel like when you're talking about art specifically, and maybe I'm a little bit jaded because I am an artist, but it's hard to compete with the soul of an artist. Like the whole reason I would buy a painting in the first place is because I'm like, oh, that's impressive that someone made this. But if someone just prompted it or generated it, I'm like, it just takes like the whole reason out, you know?
It is true,
It's
yeah.
like
Which emerging technologies excite you most about the future of 3D? Maybe there is something else except AI.
I'm trying to think. I think if AI is going to do anything, like have it retopologize stuff and like do the stuff that people don't actually want to do. I'm excited for that to be a thing, not like for it to make the whole art for us because then it's just taking the fun side of everything and all that. So I'm
Mhm.
hoping that one day that and like a washer and dryer system that's one and that also folds your clothes.
Yeah,
That's
sounds
what I've been waiting for.
yeah, sounds great. And let's talk about finding clients. How do the beginners find clients in your niche? Is it enough today to just post, to work on social media, or is direct outreach to potential clients still important?
Honestly, I would have said posting would have been the thing, but now I just think the algorithms have changed so much to the point where like we just don't have as much control of people seeing that. Not only that, but so many more people are posting. Like it almost feels like there's more people posting than there are people watching at this point. And I think Instagram and different platforms have done a decent job of trying to like let us choose our algorithm, but they're not letting like we should be able to choose who we're broadcasting to as well. So I think it's a scary thing. It's like the megaphone that we have to post our work is not really in our control. We're just like setting it out into the void. And for me, luckily that's been able to be good enough to get client work and have artists know that I work on food projects so that they pitch my name out. But if I was starting out, I don't actually know because I have no experience starting out in a day like today where not only is everyone posting stuff, but the algorithms are just they seem so wild and niched up. So I would say going to like events on like a local level, like collabing with artists, like making sure like there's a 3D event called Ease that I go to in Atlanta every couple months. And we pretty much just meet up at either a studio or like a brewery and we get to like hang out, talk about projects we're working on, and then we network. So just making sure you know people, network in real life as much as you are in like social media and different platforms like Discord. Join Discords. And I think you just doing everything you can.
Do you think that artists today must learn how to like sell themselves, if it's like correct way to
Yes.
speak it? Yeah, and what was your experience like? How to sell yourself, the marketing part of it?
I think my thing was like a couple fold. Like I think selling your art is one thing. Like being able to post. Um, for me, selling myself was not only posting good work, but posting regularly and also posting. That's why I post my face all the time, and I'm posting myself in the actual videos because clients, you can tell a lot more about a person and an artist when you can actually see their face and see their aesthetic and hear them talk versus just like an unnamed profile posting artwork. Like you don't know if this person's cool to work with. You don't know. You have nothing to gauge off of other than the art. You don't even know if he's actually making the art these days. So that's why I have I make such a point of showing the process and not just posting my renders because immediately, like if I were to just post my renders, immediately people will probably think, "Oh, is this AI or real or is this CG?" When they see me making it, they know right off the bat, and I think it just shows for people that I can make things not just by prompting, but I'm actually creating the stuff. And for clients, they see that I can be consistent um, and just know kind of what they're getting into before hiring me.
That's a great piece of advice, right? Not to be afraid to show yourself,
Yeah.
maybe your human side, let's say, like there is a
Yep.
real person behind these pictures. Thank you. And which non-art skill turned out to be most valuable in your career?
Most non-art skill, I would say. Wait, does film count as art or is that not art?
Okay, let's be one from film and one from non-art. It's
Okay,
interesting.
okay.
I want to know.
Yeah, film, obviously like lighting and camera composition, that clearly helps in my field. Non-art would be honestly being charismatic, being able to talk to people, like being able to talk to clients and not get nervous, or being able to show up to events and present. And I don't know, being like someone who can merge into different, because I think I've had this skill my whole life, but when I was in high school, I was friends with like the jocks, like the football guys, and then also friends with like the nerdy guys, and then also friends with like the guys who were like getting in trouble a lot. So I was always able to morph. And when I'm doing that, I'm talking kind of differently in each group. I have different jokes, I have different this. So I think when you're working with different clients or different friends or artists, I know how to kind of morph in those different positions and talk in different dialects and know kind of how to like get along with people of different types. Like I'm not going to be the one if you say something crazy to me, I'm not going to be like, wait, why did you just say that? Why and get super upset. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know how to like kind of hold my ground and be like, okay, this person's like this. I know I understand this from afar. A lot of people get super triggered or kind of get upset or offended based on what you say. So I think it's just a positive thing to be able to like understand and empathize where people are coming from, and whether that's a client, an artist, or whatever. So I would say that skill.
The reason I mentioned time management, you start working at 7 a.m. if I'm not mistaken. Is that true?
Yeah, honestly, that is switch because since I've gone to Japan for a presentation, I came back and I was waking up at like 10 a.m. And at first I hated it because I was like, I'm wasting the whole day, all this stuff. But I ended up actually really liking it because I have this joke with my girlfriend, like, because I'm self-employed and I'm like working here, even though it seems like I'm always working, most of the day I'm actually not. Like most of the day I'm chilling. Like I work pretty fast, so I get my work done, whether that's the daily or like my client work. So I usually have like a good like 3, 4 hours of the day where I'm like, what do I do with my life? It's part of the reason I got a cat. But so I used to be waiting a bunch of the day for like my friends to get off work to be able to chill with them or my girlfriend or all this stuff. And now um, there's less of the day that I'm waiting because I'm waking up, starting everything later. So I actually benefited from actually waking up later. I don't wake up at 10 now. I wake up at probably like 7:30 or 8, but then I get
Mm.
up at like 9. So middle ground.
How many hours do you sleep every day?
Probably let's see, 7.5, 8.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm also growing as a content creator and planning to like expand
Yeah.
internationally. And what's your main piece of advice for building a channel?
Keep doing it and not getting too burned out. Like figure out a way you can consistently post stuff without getting burned out. Like I tell people, even though I do this thing or I used to do much better job of it, of making dailies where I'd make stuff every single day. I know a lot of people can get burned out doing that, but I've realized that the content you post doesn't have to be a finished piece every day. It can be one day you're posting a finished piece, another day you're showing process, another day you're talking, like you're just talking about what you think about of the industry or something. Or next day you're making like a funny post. It's like a 5 second post. Like it doesn't need to be, especially these days, nothing needs to be identical every single day. If anything, people like variety. Like I think the best mix of things is when you're mixing the funny stuff for like the everyday person, the really technical stuff for the people who really love your work so they can see stuff. That's why I do the quick tips on Zbrush. The regular dailies for people who are just like coming to see your profile, like, whoa, this is cool. So making sure your profile has like a really wide variety of things.
And you stream daily, right? And you call them so-called dailies, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
Could you please tell me about the reason you do it, the purpose of these dailies?
Yeah. So originally I was doing them literally every single day. Um, and I had so much to make. Like there was just things that I was so excited to make. So every day I would get on and create something and post it, and people began to, this was at a time that everyone saw every post that you posted. So it was a lot more relevant back then. And then I got into Discord, so I was actually streaming the stuff and like making friends online. So I was more motivated to like hop on, see my friends, and stream, and then post stuff because when I was making it in front of people and I was talking to people, by the time I posted, everyone thought they had, it's like a team effort. Everyone had a say in what I was making or like gave advice. So a lot of people, it gave a lot of people motivation to comment and like and act like they're a part of it. And then I've slimmed down a little bit on posting every single day because I think I've literally just made so many foods that I would just be remaking things at this point. But I do some reposts and then also I'll do like funny pieces of content, like I was saying. Or at this point, if I am posting a finished render, maybe I'll take a little bit more time and post it every like 3 days or something. Um, but yeah, I think it was a huge part in gaining traction, not only in the algorithm, but making sure I was good and like fresh with my skill sets all the time. And also, uh, yeah, I think as a freelancer, I think that was the way I saw it was that's the least I could do. It's free to share your work. And as someone who is literally not reaching out to clients or not doing any of the work to pitch to clients or working a 9 to 5 job, the least I could do is just make a piece of art every day and post it.
And you do it on Discord or Instagram?
Yeah, I'll do it on Discord, sometimes Instagram Live if I'm feeling like I want to get on Instagram. But then I'll post it to Instagram and sometimes TikTok.
Yeah, so cool. So if you want to join Patrick, do it.
Yeah, discord.gg/P4D.
We're going to put these links in the description.
Cool.
Yeah. How do you maintain balance between work, personal life, and sports? Like, do you do sports or like,
Yeah,
do
I
you
play a lot of
entertain yourself?
tennis. I try to play a couple times a week at least. I mean, it's been a little bit harder during the winter, but still I'll try to get out. Like today, I'll be tossing the frisbee with a buddy. But again, like I said, it's a misconception that I'm working 24/7. I think I have a very forgiving schedule to be able to do whatever I want throughout the days. So I'm lucky in that regard. Most people don't have, whenever that they can do stuff, but I would definitely make sure you can at least exercise once, if not twice a day, because it just clears your head, gets the blood moving. I think and also working in a space with windows. I'm not saying like
Yeah.
this, but like working in a space where you
The
have
views
natural
are
light
just
coming in.
fantastic.
Yeah, right. I actually tinted these windows because it was too bright. Like it was actually hurting my head because I was like trying to look at the screens, but these were too bright. So then I would have to have these lights be even brighter. So I was able to tint the windows. These lights wouldn't be as bright, and now it's a little bit more comfortable now.
Like, do
But
you have curtains?
yeah,
I don't see them. Like,
I do. Yeah, they're. Can you see them? Yeah, those things at the top can be pulled down.
oh, yeah, I see.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. What
yeah.
floor is it? 20th?
This is like it's like over the 20th floor. Yeah.
About a year ago on another podcast, you mentioned wanting to teach or like create a course. Has anything moved forward in that direction?
The course, I think I took like a middle ground step. I was doing the quick tips, and that was kind of my way of giving back a little bit because I was like, I feel like I can turn a bunch of this stuff into content, and it's free. So I was kind of giving little baby chunks out. In the future, I might do like a course or something. I don't know, but that was kind of my pause middle ground moment, and I saw the quick tips on Zbrush did so much better than I thought they were gonna do. Like I thought it was gonna be too niche. Most people weren't gonna see it. Most people just want to see like the polished, fun render, but it turned out they were doing better than some of the stuff I was doing before. So I just kept doing it. I have this whole whiteboard that's in the other room right now of just like 50 plus quick tip ideas that I've crossed off. I've done so many at this point.
But you don't have a YouTube channel, right?
I do have a YouTube channel, but I haven't posted on it in years.
What's the reason you don't develop that part?
I think because I was just overwhelmed with how many social media things there were. Like I got used to the short form content game, and I think YouTube is just a different beast. Like I think YouTube obviously pays content creators well, but for me to be like a successful YouTuber, I would have to make that like my life
Yeah.
to become doing that. So I was like, do I do that? Do I do a Patreon? Do I do Skillshare? Do I do just stuff on my website? Do I do quick tips? There's so many things. So I've just picked a couple and done them really well instead of trying to do everything a little bit.
What are your plans for the coming year? If it's not a secret, of course.
I think the plans that I'm willing to disclose are just like continue doing social media like I've been. I think taking more time on my like dailies and projects instead of trying to make it every single day. And maybe take a little bit more of a teaching role from like starting to give a little bit more content. I think the end of last year when I was doing the quick tips was the start of that. So who knows? I think I'm still trying to figure that out, what I'm doing. I don't have like I never have like plans too far in advance.
Hey, here's one question I'm asking everyone. Could you please share your current hardware setup?
Yeah, so the current hardware setup, I wonder, is there a way to look this up? I think there is, right? Is it computer management? No, system information. Let's see. I have a Asus. So I got AMD Ryzen Threadripper 7960X with 24 cores. I have 128 gigs of RAM.
Not bad.
I got two 4090s in this computer. And then when I'm rendering, I actually have another computer in another office in the back room running with two 3090s. And so I have them running together when I'm rendering in Live Viewer. In Octane, you can do that. You can like tether two computers or more for one render. So
That's
even
cool.
in my live viewer, I have them kind of working together.
Before we move to the last part, is there any chance to see something in ZBrush? Maybe the work you've done, but just to show the pieces of it or parts, layers of it.
So we have this render that I showed earlier, but I wanted to see if let me make sure I. So in Z, are you familiar with ZBrush or are you not a big ZBrush guy?
No, no, no. I use it every day. I know
Okay,
it.
okay. So you know ZBrush.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Um, I would say I'm gonna get rid of the chives here. So a lot of times if I'm so we have here the actually set it up so if I just tap the screen, it solos the object. So you can do that with kind of everything here. You have all the subtools.
Mm.
But for instance, if I'm adding certain, like if I want to add salt or pepper or chives or whatever on this surface, what I would do is like mask some of this off. I guess the problem with this is it's going to highlight a bunch of the bottom, which I don't want to scatter things on the bottom. So something just to highlight just the top of the stuff, you go to polygroups and you do group front. Nothing changed here. It changed one polygroup, but you can see it actually
Mm.
separated everything based on the camera angle. So I can separate just the top. And when I have that, then I can start masking like, okay, maybe this area
Oh, that's
like
cool.
this. And I want to scatter stuff on here. So if I polygroup that and then I go to Z modeler and then go to something like insert nano mesh polygroup all, I can say distribute stuff on
Mm.
just these polygroups, and then it allows nanomesh to open up here. Then you can randomize stuff, randomize the rotation, blah blah blah,
Mm. That's
like
amazing.
this. And then when you go to edit mesh, you can actually like anything you do to this initial mesh will happen over there. So I could then make something else that would look cool. So anything I do to this mesh happens over here.
Oh,
So I use
that's
that a
cool.
lot when I'm doing stuff on ZBrush. So imagine those were like onions or something like that. And then I get out of here, inventory one to mesh, and then you can just separate these like this.
Yeah.
And if I were to split, now it's their own mesh. So it's just a nice way to do that. And then to move these around individually, obviously if you use like a move brush, like uh, the it's going to move a lot of these like this. But if you go to move topology with the size of 0, you can actually move these individually. So a lot of times I'll do that just to make some last adjustments. And that's kind of how I made that.
Now we are moving to the last part of our conversation. On my podcast, I like to explore guests from different angles and go a little bit philosophical. So
Okay.
here are some more personal questions. The first one is, what inspires you outside of 3D?
Ooh, I think outside of 3D, I think my brother inspires me, honestly. The way that man, even though it seems like I'm constantly working, like I think I have a very good work ethic, but I think he's on a different level with the amount of time and the kind of stuff he does. Like I think I do a lot of stuff pretty well where I'm like comfortable in my own home and I'm like I have a lot of flexibility and freedom to do things my way. He's very good at doing what he needs to do, even if it's not, exactly his way. He's good at kind of being there for people, and if there's a job that needs to be done, he will freaking do it. So understand, like I can be very bad at like conforming to things, even when I need to. It can be like a downside of mine. It's very good in like my specific niche, but he's much more flexible outside of what he's doing. So I would say that.
Mostly my subscribers are from CG industry and they make games. And I don't know if you play games. Can you name your top three favorite games of all time?
I wish I played more games, man. I kind of stopped really gaming after early high school. Now I watch games. Like I'll watch my friends play games, but when I used to play, it was like Halo 3, uh, Call of Duty, Black Ops 1, and I guess maybe Fortnite or something like that. Or there were these games called, I don't know if you've heard of Crackdown.
I've heard.
Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
it was for like I think it was for like Xbox 360 or something like that. And then Just Cause 3
Yeah,
was
of
a really
course.
good game. Um, Crackdown was like GTA, but like you were like had superpowers. It was crazy. I just loved that combo.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Nowadays, I watch my buddies play either League of Legends or uh, what's the other game? Um, the one where you're like cars and you're like soccer.
Mm, I
It's
got
like
it.
it's like your cars, but you're like hitting a ball into the goal.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
Um,
Flat out, or
no, no, no,
no, no, no.
something league.
I got the game, but I don't remember the name. Yeah, I got it.
Hold on, it's league. It's not League of Legends. I can't remember. Anyways,
Okay.
also I forgot another big part of my life used to be like computer games. So like I would say middle school and below, I was playing like World of Warcraft or RuneScape. Those games I loved.
What is happiness to you, and do you consider yourself a happy person?
Happiness to me is being honestly being able to do what fulfills you throughout the day. So the fact that I think I found something that gave me a lot of purpose and that I think I'm happiest when I feel useful and I have work coming in, not only just work coming in, but work coming in doing things that I love. So that and making sure. I think this past year as well, it was kind of my year. I realized it can't just all be about work. I think I've been lucky that my work has allowed me to feel success in things. But if you're always rooting your happiness and like your sense of worth from your work, it's just dangerous because ultimately industry might change. This might, change. So although I'm doing fine now, like in the future, that's things will inevitably change. So I think if you can find happiness in the people around you, regardless of your setting and work, that's the most important. Like, don't put your happiness in something that you have no control over.
If you could go back to the very beginning of your 3D journey, what would you do differently?
I don't think I would do. Did I've answered this before? I don't think I would do anything differently. Everything kind of happened the right way. Like I went to film, then it gave me a knowledge to do the 3D, and then I did this. Like, I guess like a couple projects I bid too high, and then when I didn't get the project, so I would be like, all right, go a little bit lower, so you would have gotten this project, but nothing super crazy.
You live in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
And could you please tell me what places should I visit if I go there?
Ooh, visit Pond City Market. It's this abandoned factory that turned into this really cool big market with food places and shops. Walk the Beltline, I guess, if you're into, long walks around the city. There's a lot of like breweries and places to drink or eat. Um, Go to what's another place? I would say go to this restaurant called the Consulate. I live pretty close to it as well, where they have this really cool thing where it's like this really eclectic, fancy restaurant where every quarter they'll have an event where they spin the globe, and then wherever they stop it, they'll re-inspire the menu from that part of the world. So the
Wow.
chefs will actually go visit that place and take notes and get all these ideas and come back with a new menu. And so they'll do
Wow.
that every quarter.
Here's a lightning round before the last question. Coffee or tea?
Coffee,
Oh, I know you buy it from the shop, don't
cold
you,
brew,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. A personal project or client work?
Personal project.
Sweet food or savory food?
Can I say both?
Sure, no problem.
Both.
Okay, cool. Morning person or night owl?
Morning.
Real-time engines or offline rendering?
Offline.
Favorite comfort food?
Butter chicken.
And one tool you couldn't live without?
Zbrush.
One word that describes your current life stage?
Eggs Benedict.
And finally, What advice or message would you like to leave for young artists, like to my audience? They are from CG industry, 2D artists, 3D artists, animators, like a lot of people.
Okay, I would say, especially as a freelancer, it is very normal to have times in your career where you're not getting any work, even at the highest level. Like I've just become to accept and not only accept, but expect to not get projects all the time. Like even if, it'll happen all the time where I'm like, oh, it's been like a couple weeks or a couple months where it's like seems kind of dry, and then immediately get like 5 projects. And the way obviously I think my projects align these days and the type of projects I take on, it's not like I'm working on like 5 projects at a time. It's like I'm working on 1 or 2 max in like months period. So even though things can get discouraging, just as part of the plan. Freelancing was never supposed to be like boom, boom, boom. We're self-employed, so just keep doing it.
Yeah, Patrick, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your experience so openly today. And I truly appreciate your honesty, insights, and the energy you bring to the community. For everyone watching, I'll leave links to Patrick's social media below. Make sure to subscribe, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel as well. Patrick, I wish you all the best with your future projects and everything that's coming next. And thanks again for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me, man. It was a pleasure to get to know you.
Thank you. I'll see you. Goodbye.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, can I take a picture of you with the shirt?
By the way, thanks for reminding.
Yeah, yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.